Story 1. Spanish. I am studying for an hour a day, and I know I will get there soon, but it would be cool to be instantly fluent. I have been living in Puerto Rico for 2 years now and will spend every winter here for the foreseeable future. I am tired of feeling dependent on my girlfriend to make complex transactions or have conversations. Story 2. I would choose Japanese. The culture is fascinating, and knowing the language would make it so much easier to enjoy animation, comics, and travel around Japan. Story 3. Chinese for sure. They are going to be the next global hegemon after the United States fully collapses due to our government selling us out to the oligarchs. Story 4. There is a Korean YouTuber with many cats whom I follow. Her videos have subtitles, but for obvious reasons, her streams do not. She has been posting many more streams lately. If she is planning to pursue that direction, I would like to be able to understand those as well. Story 5. It seems like a silly answer, but it's not my native language, and sometimes it's really hard to have conversations and even write some posts. Story 6. Old Norse fascinates me in a way other languages do not. The sounds and the grammar intrigue me. I want to know it as well as I know English. It would be amazing. Story 7. Biblical Hebrew. I think it would be cool to be able to read the Bible in its original language. Plus, it just sounds cool. Story 8. Finnish. I am learning it and want to move to Finland, but the best way to learn is to be around native speakers, and I do not know a single Finn, let alone spend much time with anyone outside of family. Story 9. Mandarin Chinese. Out of the languages I want to learn, I think it is the most challenging and takes the most time, especially if you want to be able to read and write it as well. All those characters, and when speaking and listening, the tones as well. When they say it slowly, I can make out if it is, for example, I. But when they just say words at normal speed, I have to take a little time to think about how they just said it. Also, I think it is pretty relevant and is becoming even more relevant with time. It has the most native speakers as well. Additionally, but that is the smallest reason, to be honest, I like some Chinese music and I have also watched a Chinese drama. It would be cool to understand it without subtitles. Finally, it sounds cool, I think. Especially in real life in a coffee shop. Both baristas were talking to each other in Chinese and it sounded so nice. Though I have to admit the other languages I want to learn also sound really nice. Story 10. We have been considering moving to live in her home country, as it turns out mine has shortcomings that hers does not. And vice versa, but we feel the advantages of her country outweigh the disadvantages, at least for us. One of the barriers between us and making this move is how little Romanian I know. She has taught me bits and pieces but doesn't know how to approach learning the language comprehensively. I tried using a language learning app, but for some reason, despite how it breaks things down into very small sentences and offers a reward system for consistency, I couldn't maintain my progress. Story 11. Spanish. There are many Spanish speakers around, and I wish I could communicate with them better. Story 12. Spanish. I have been trying to teach myself, and I am a terrible teacher. A lot of the children I work with are Spanish speakers, and I wish I could speak to them the same way I do with the English-speaking kids. Story 13. The language of silence. This allows me to understand what is going through their minds and how to navigate better. I will try to empathize more and not think of them as unusual individuals. Story 14. Spanish. I live in the United States, and while it is not like I am in Texas or California, I do meet a lot of Spanish speakers and wish that we could communicate more clearly. I know a tiny bit of Spanish. They know a much better portion of English, but sometimes it would be nice to know both so that more abstract concepts could be communicated clearly. Story 15. Korean. I started learning it but didn't get to continue. I had a very bad interaction with a fellow learner, and it left a really bad taste in my mouth. I tried to pick it back up again several times, but I couldn't do it without feeling the negative impact of the incident that took place. I'm also strapped for time. It feels like I'm going to bed, getting up for work, rushing home to get some sleep so I can get back up for work. This is my life right now, so it's hard to get back on the horse. I would love to take a class. Story 16. Sichuanese Mandarin to communicate better with my wife's family. I have been learning Mandarin for a while, but I am not confident. Story 17. I have tried and failed the aptitude test for it, as I cannot detect the different tones. I think it is a language that will become more and more useful in the future as China becomes a greater global power, especially as I honestly believe the United States is in the process of imploding. Story 18. I am improving my English. I am from Russia and I would like to meet people. Well, and then move to another country. I do not know which one yet. And sorry for my English. Story 19. Japanese. It would be a relief to finally listen to anime without having to read poorly translated subtitles. Story 20. Japanese, as I have friends from Japan whom I suspect are gossiping about me, and I want to hear what they say. Story 21. Italian. I have been trying to teach myself the language through Duolingo, and I am still struggling after 222 days. Story 22. Italian. I like Italy. I have been there many times and plan to go there more in the future. While I can do simple things like ordering food, saying thanks, and things like that, I would love to be more or less fluent in it. Using English, which is not my native language, and speaking broken Italian in Italy is not very good. Story 23. Either German, which is exhausting to learn for school, or Japanese. I can flex knowing it if I knew how to speak it, though I will start learning it eventually. Story 24. I wish I could learn Klingon instantly. Just imagine walking into a conversation and boldly crowing Maj Qa to friendships that cannot handle mere human greetings. Plus, scaring off potential small talk with good old science fiction intimidation. Absolute genius. Story 25. German. I don't like the language, but it would allow me to read many criminal law texts that are foundational to continental criminal law doctrines. Story 26. Native English speaker. Fluent in Russian, Spanish, and Esperanto. I studied Mandarin for 3 years in country and I am still perplexed by daily encounters. Story 27. I can imagine becoming fluent in French, Spanish, and even Arabic on my own through hard work, but Mandarin seems like Everest. I have studied all of these languages at least at a very basic level, so I know some words and phrases and have some idea of how the languages work. Story 28. German. If someone is being rude, I can just start shouting random words and scare them off. Germans. Why is your language so aggressive? Story 29. I applied to a job, and my qualifications were slightly better than required in a pretty niche field. I had the interview, and it went amazingly well. I had the interviewers laughing, but one tried to throw a curveball with a technical question that I had just encountered on a work trip. The only caveat was that I do not speak French. I still have not heard back from them, although I did not receive a denial, right? Story 30. My introduction to computer science classes were in Python, and I am going to need C++ for future classes, as well as in my future career. Story 31. I just love the idea of walking around Roman archaeological sites and being able to read everything. Story 32. American Sign Language. I know very rudimentary American Sign Language. I could probably carry on a basic conversation but still need to end up asking, in American Sign Language, how to sign fingerspell the word I am looking for. It would be great to know for the deaf community. Plus, it is very fun. Story 33. Latvian. I would probably be able to skip my dad to get dual citizenship since he has been delaying for years. Story 34. Ancient Greek is quite varied and localized, but anything to start with would be nice. I took 2 semesters of Greek in my electives before nursing school. I am a Greek pagan reconstructionist, meaning I try to read old Greek literature to help me understand how they prayed to Zeus, Hera, and others. Please note this does not mean I am interested in recreating their entire society. I do not support women not having the right to vote, holding slaves, or anything like that. I am only focused on their gods and religious basis. Story 35. I am torn between German and Serbian. I am German and so is my mother, but I also know a few Serbians, and it would be cool to be able to speak with them. Story 36. Russian is a language I might choose to stop studying, but since I can already manage with it to some extent, it would probably be more practical to focus on Mandarin to bypass the entire process, especially considering how complicated the writing system is. Story 37. I spend a few days a month in Quebec, and I would like to be able to communicate better with people there. Story 38. I am assuming I would have full mastery of grammar, both written and spoken, and all shorthand or variances. In order: 1. Japanese. I live in the Pacific Northwest, love anime, manga, music, and books, and would love to visit Japan. American Sign Language. I just think it would be nice and occasionally come in handy. Pun fully intended. Spanish really useful. I took years of it in high school but fell out of practice. Elvish. I am just that kind of nerd. C++. This could be a potential career shift and is just useful. Story 39. Spanish. Living in Southern California, we have a good number of Spanish speakers. Plus, I would love to go into a taco shop and order my meal in Spanish. Story 40. Malayalam is a very difficult language. My wife and her family speak it, and I would love to be able to truly participate in family events. Story 41. Mandarin just because I love how it sounds. Japanese because the interest in anime makes me want to read without subtitles. Story 42. I would choose English because it is so widely spoken and full of unique expressions, making it a great way to connect with people from all over the world. Story 43. Spanish. There are so many Spanish speakers in America. I feel like it is only fair to learn their language, as they have learned ours. Story 44. I would choose Mandarin because it is much more useful, but I would like to choose Japanese because it would be awesome to travel there speaking the language. Story 45. Korean, so when I go to the massage parlors, just kidding. It just seems like a cool place to visit and be able to communicate. Or even Japan. Story 46. 1. German. Their culture really fascinates me. Additionally, I am quite soft-spoken in person, and I believe speaking in German would help me be more assertive. Persian. As an Indian who grew up in the United Arab Emirates, I had to learn Arabic. I am not fluent by any means, but I have a conversational understanding of the language. I can also read Arabic, and that, combined with the fact that I am an Indian, helps me read and write Urdu as well. I live in Canada and have several Iranian classmates and colleagues, and I would like to get to know their culture a little better. Story 47. Spanish. Most of my friends are Mexican, and my Spanish is pretty limited. I am also thinking I will retire to a South American country at some point. That would be handy. Story 48. I am studying Portuguese and loving it. My sister's wife's family is from Brazil, and I want to talk with them. I have studied Spanish for a long time, so learning Portuguese goes by faster. I also know American Sign Language quite well. Story 49. English and Spanish, so I could speak to over 1.5 billion people. If I choose Spanish, then I will simply learn English better. Story 50. Russian, probably because of both the current geopolitical situation and because I just love the language. Additionally, swearing in other languages is interesting. Story 51. Punjabi, a lot of my friends are from there, Amritsar to be more specific, and they are the most beautiful people I have ever met. Story 52. I am learning Spanish because of my Peruvian pen pal and how Peru and a lot of Latin America would be a great career opportunity for me. What's also appealing is that it is arguably the most common mother tongue of humans when you consider that Mandarin is more of a language family. I am also studying French for the challenge of being bilingual through my own efforts. Story 53. All ancient languages like Sumerian and Egyptian hieroglyphs. It would be so cool to read very old writings exactly how they are written. It's almost like time traveling. Story 54. Serbian, if only because it should be easy for me and I have been studying it for some years, but for some reason it is just not sticking. Japanese was a much smoother road. Even Chinese stuck better, and I am terrible at Chinese. Story 55. Japanese because there are a couple of games that I want to play that are region-locked and were never translated. And there's some Japanese music that I listen to but don't actually know how to find. Story 56. It's so far removed from the languages I know that it would be a substantial new asset. And since China is on the rise, it would also provide me with business opportunities. Additionally, it may confuse the people around me. Story 57. Latin because it will make it easier to learn all the other languages that have the same letters and pronunciation. Story 58. Spanish. I am Mexican and do not really know or understand it. I try, but when I do, I get made fun of by my family. Story 59. I just wanted to say to participants there are no stupid answers. I made this post to have fun and let people fly their nerd flags high. Thank you everyone for your input, amazing perceptions, and choices. Thanks a bunch for sticking around till the end of the video. Remember to subscribe, and until next time, stay awesome and goodbye.